It hasn't even been 2 weeks yet since Arizona Governor Jan Brewer signed into law SB 1070, and already the attacks have been loud, ferocious, passionate, and numerous. The reason this video is being recorded is to convey to you why I don't think the derision and the ferocity of the attacks on the state of Arizona is going to end anytime soon. Very simply put, the state of Arizona presents a challenge or threat to people who would like either open borders, like we largely have, or mass legalization, like many people are trying to acquire. It presents a threat or a challenge they have not seen in decades. Now, regardless how you feel about the issue of illegal aliens being in our country, you're probably aware that most Americans, they would like to see current immigration and employment laws enforced. Nonetheless, we don't really have that, and that has been largely as a result of approximately half a dozen different and varied groups who, for their own reasons, would like to see open borders remain or to have another amnesty. Chief among those, I would say, are Democrat politicians. Now, you will notice I didn't say Democrats. I mean elected officials from the Democratic Party. And the reason is pretty simple. New immigrants who come into this country, they overwhelmingly vote liberal. That's been historically true, and there's no indication that that would change. You add 10 million plus new voters, the vast majority of whom are going to vote Democratic, and the Democrat Party has a lock on national elections and a lot of regional elections, maybe for the next quarter century. There are certainly other folks who fall in here. You see them listed, and I guess the other most significant one is big business, CEOs, chambers of commerce. Illegal immigration is not slavery, but it is about the second best thing from an economic perspective. If you are an owner or someone who runs a factory, you don't have to treat people well, you don't have to pay them much. These other groups, I'm sure you won't recognize. The threat that Arizona embodies right now is the fact that if the law stands and if it is successful, some of the big lies that have kept the current situation in place, that are fed to us by Barack Obama and Harry Reid and Antonio Villaraigosa and many, many other people who keep trying to shovel comprehensive immigration reform, as they call it. They try to shovel it in our direction. Arizona has the potential for exposing some of these very obvious lies. The first one I'm sure you probably recognize. My God, there are millions of illegal aliens here. We have to have comprehensive immigration reform. How could we ever deport them all? Do you have any idea how much that would cost? I'm sure you've certainly heard that pitch before. Another one that is frequently voiced is that if we get rid of millions of illegal aliens, the United States is going to go down the financial toilet. Our economy will nosedive, and we will certainly regret it. There is, of course, our last president's favorite pitch. There's no reason to be upset about illegal aliens because, after all, they're doing the jobs that Americans won't do. And then one of the more recent ones, but certainly it's been mouthed a number of times, is that there's no reason to be concerned about illegal aliens because they just come here to work and they want to have better lives. And actually, they don't commit crimes frequently at all, much less so than people who are born in the United States. One of the less common reasons given on a national scale, although it's certainly voiced here in Los Angeles very passionately by some of the locals, is one you hear if you are a border security advocate, as I am, and I've heard this one more times than I can count. People will get very upset with you, and they will say, "You need us." And the idea is that American society is just going to crash but for the presence of illegal laborers, largely from the nation of Mexico. Well, Let's say the Arizona law stands, and in fact it accomplishes its goals. 6 months or a year later, what if we find that in the state of Arizona, the illegal alien population has substantially shrunk? They have lost 50% of more of the individuals who were inside that state and undocumented. What is going to be the response of our friends who would love to see an amnesty if in the state of Arizona half a year or 12 months from now, the jails and the prisons, they have 60 to 70% of the inmate population that they had just before the law was signed in by Governor Brewer? What will be the response of the unions and the teachers if all of a sudden the unemployment rate in the state of Arizona, it goes way, way down because all of these car wash jobs and construction work and fast food jobs, suddenly they are occupied by Americans, teenagers, the elderly, the lowly skilled, who are very happy to have these newly opened positions. And of course, what kind of a response are they going to be able to muster if all of a sudden insurance rates in the state of Arizona for automobile drivers go down because there are maybe 50% fewer unlicensed and uninsured drivers than there were before SB 1070 was enacted? What happens to all of these arguments if all of a sudden the state of Arizona accomplishes its goals and we find out that, in fact, enforcement does work? You don't have to legalize people to resolve the immigration problem. Enforcing the laws works just fine. What kind of a problem would that present for John McCain or Barack Obama or any member of the Bush family or Meg Whitman or all of these other individuals who would love to foist upon us their plan for legalizing 10+ million individuals in this country and rewarding them for having successfully violated our laws? The threat that Arizona poses, ladies and gentlemen, it could work. You don't have to spend billions of dollars to have workplace raids, to go in, drag people out of their homes. The idea that simply enforcing the laws on the books is adequate, it's almost the end of illegal immigration, or any prospect of having an amnesty that many people have been working for years to acquire. The attacks on Arizona, they're not going to die down anytime soon because, quite frankly, the people who want comprehensive immigration reform the most, they can't possibly have Arizona succeed. It would be the death knell for everything they've been trying to achieve.